Hello students, welcome back into the another session of CS22 operating system concepts using Linux and Unix. As we are discussing about the last unit of entire subject, that is unit number 11, Linux administration, where we have discussed the various concepts like creating Linux user account with password. We have discussed about the Samba and Apache server and the installation and the configuration steps for the same. Then we have gone for the two services, that is called as LDAP, that is called as lightweight directory access protocol, and domain name services. Now in today's lecture we'll discuss about the remaining part of this entire chapter, that is optimizing FTP, that means FTP services, web services, security services, with the discussion of firewall, and last but not the least we'll have an idea of wine. So let's start with the same. I hope this would be the last lecture of CS22 operating system concept using Linux and Unix. So as you can see onto the screen, it's time to discuss about the FTP services. All we are aware with the word called FTP, where FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. Generally, it is used to transfer the files from local system to the web root directories, and the protocol which has been supported by the OSI layer is called as FTP, called File Transfer Protocol. So as written onto the screen, File Transfer Protocol consists of the two connection, the control connection and the data connection. That means FTP is generally made up of two internals, that is called as control connection and the data connection, where the client initiates the control connection to the server on TCP IP port number 21 by default, which can be changed as it required by the user. This connection remains open for the duration of the session and send administrative data, that is, for example, an identification, some type of commands, password, etc. And after the control command is established, the data connection pool transfers the file data from source to destination. So one thing is very clear, in FTP, two internal procedure has been handled by this entire protocol. First, it establishes the necessary connection with the destination directory. Once the connection has been established, it transfers the file by establishing the data connection, where the data is going to be transferred electronically from source to destination. The data connection use various originators and port. When you look at the TCP connection and still hide optimizing, both the control data connections appears on a separate TCP IP protocol. The port ID which FTP use is port number 21 by default, which can be changed as per the requirement of the user. Now this FTP consists of various web services. Like a web services is a piece of software that make itself available over the internet and use standardized XML messaging system. XML is used to encode the all communication services. For example, client invoke the web services by sending an XML message, then waits for the corresponding XML response. So web services mainly works on request and response, which in terms of extended markup language, which is called as XML. Now all the communication which has been done through XML, web services are not tied up to any operating system or a programming language, can only talk with a Windows application and the Linux application. Generally, these web services are used whenever you are making your website live. At that particular time, the web services were used. Web services are actually self-contained modular distributed dynamic application that can be described, published, located, invoke over any network that is called as local area network, wide area network or metropolitan area network. But widely, these web services are used over the wide area network where the standard protocols are used like TCP/IP, HTTP, HTTPS, and into the various web-based programming languages like XML, Java, PHP, Ajax, and so on. Now, all web service is actually a collection of open protocol and it have the standard usage for exchanging the data between the application and the system. In these web services, software application is actually written into the various programming languages and running over the different platforms which can be used over the common computer network, where the computer network might be in any format like local area network, wide area network and metropolitan area network. Whenever there is a discussion of networking schemes, it consists of OSI layer which is actually made up of 8 different layers. Now to summarize, a complete web service is consist of various features as given onto the screen, like it is available over the internet or private intranet. Second, it use standard XML messaging system. Third, it is not tied up with any operating system or the programming language as it is already described earlier. This particular thing is a self-describing common XML grammar and it is discoverable via the simple searching mechanism. The next topic of discussion is related with the security of operating system, or we can say the security of Ubuntu. So as far as the security is concerned, in Linux we need to discuss about the two various topics, that is called as firewall and as well as wine. We'll discuss wine after some time. First, let's cover the basic discussion about the firewall. Firewall is actually the soft part of computer system, or you can say the operating system. That means it comes in flavor of programming language. Generally, the usage of firewall is to restrict incoming and outgoing unauthorized accesses to the particular system. It widely used whenever the system is get connected over the internet. This is the screenshot of Ubuntu firewall, where by just switching from on and off you can start and stop the firewall inside the Linux like operating system. Just type in a search window called firewall, you will get this particular window, and by switching from on to off we can start and stop the firewall. Even using the terminal window, we can also lock and unlock the firewall inside the system by passing the sudo command, and the command would be like this: sudo space ufw, that is undefined firewall space enable. This particular command will activate, or we can say it enables the firewall inside the system startup. Once the firewall has been started by the sudo command, later on we can see the status of undefined firewall by firing sudo ufw space status. It shows the status of firewall which is running inside the system, and you can observe the screen which is there right now on in front of your eyes. Various other setup we can do inside the firewall. That means we can add the rules. Generally, these rules are used whenever any unauthorized FTP connection has been established between the client and server, and at that particular time you want to keep that port ID and the IP ID as a trusted IP inside the firewall, as it will not block the request which comes from that particular unknown source. So we need to add the rules. So by this particular option we can add firewall rules. The next topic of discussion is Wine. So as the discussion of Wine is that Wine consists of two different Wine comes into the two different format, that is called as Windows 32-bit and Windows 64-bit. It's totally depend on the operating system which you have installed. Just to see that which operating system get installed inside the system, we have to press Ctrl, Alt and T, which shows the terminal window, and under the terminal window by passing the command called lscpu, you can see the internals of your system just like this. As you can see onto the screen, first it shows the architecture of the Windows I have installed right now. It's of 64-bit. CPU mode can be enabled in 32-bit as well as on 64-bit, and various other things we can see over here. That means the architecture of our computer can be displayed using the command called lscpu. Once you finalize which type of operating system you have installed by passing a one command, remember that the system should be connected over the internet, then and then we can perform this thing. That means we have to pass the command over the terminal window is sudo space apt space install space wine64 if my operating system is of 64-bit, otherwise wine32 if my operating system is of 32-bit. Once you pass this particular command, it asks for the password which you have set during the installation of Linux. Pass that particular valid authentication over here. Once this process get completed, and if your system is successfully attached with the internet, automatically it download the apt packet of the Wine 64 or 32-bit. It automatically extracts all that archives and install Wine into the system. Generally, the functionality of Wine is very simple. Wine allows to run Windows application under the Ubuntu. This is one of the best feature of Linux. See, the environment of Windows and the environment of Linux is totally different. Means Windows use IDE while Linux use kernel. But still, if we want to use some of the application software or almost all the application software of Windows inside the Linux, at that particular time we need to first install a one emulator that is called as Windows emulator, where the full form of Wine is Windows and E stands for emulator. So this emulator supports the installation and usage of Windows application inside the Linux. So once you install this Wine, successfully and starting the services of Wine, we can use Windows application and their compatible application softwares inside the Linux like operating system, and almost in all the flavors of Linux like Red Hat, Fedora, Puppy Linux, Kali Linux, Ubuntu that we are using, and many more. The same functionality is supported. So this was all about the topic which we have in unit number 11. So as far as the syllabus is concerned, every topics get completed over here. Now it's time to note down the important questions unit wise for examination point of view. So let's start with unit number 1. Write down the first question. What is operating system? Explain various functions of operating system. Question number 2. Write down the functions of operating system. Third, write a short note on various types of operating system. Question number 4. Explain the meaning of operating system. Unit 2. Question number 1. What is process? Explain. Question number 2. Write a short note on process scheduling. Question number 3. Explain FCES algorithm. In detail. Question number 4. Explain shortest job next in detail. Question number 5. Explain round robin algorithm. Question number 6. Give the difference between primitive and non primitive algorithm. Questions about unit number 3. Question number 1. What is memory? Explain. Question number 2. Write a short note on memory allocation. Question number 3. Give the difference between contiguous and non-contiguous memory allocation. What is paging? What is segmentation? Questions about unit number 4. Question number 1. Write a short note on Unix architecture. Question number 2. Explain Unix features in detail. Question number 3. What is file? Explain different types of file. Question number 4. Write a short note on Unix file and directory permission. Unit number 5. Question number 1. Explain any two login commands with syntax and example. Question number 2. Explain file and directory commands with syntax and example. Question number 3. Write a short note on Linux operators. Question number 4. Explain pattern matching command with suitable syntax and example. Question number 5. Explain any two communication commands. Question number 6. Explain any two process related commands. Question number 7. Explain mount and unmount commands. What is VI editor? Explain. Write a short note on various switching mode in VI. Question number 3. Explain how to cut, copy and paste in Linux. Unit number 7. Question number 1. Explain various shell keywords. Question number 2. What is shell variable? Question number 3. Explain if with FI in detail. Question number 4. What is loop? Explain for loop. Or even they can ask, what is while loop? Explain. Unit number 8. Question number 1. Explain the installation step of Ubuntu. Question number 2. Write a short note on history of Linux. Question number 3. Give the difference between open source and free source. Question number 4. This was all about unit number 8. Unit number 9. Question number 1. Explain Linux booting process. Write a short note on Lilo configuration. Give the difference between Lilo and grub. Unit number 10. Question number 1. Write a short note on Windows Manager. Question number 2. Explain desktop environment in detail. Question number 3. Explain various installation ways in Linux. Unit number 11. Question number 1. Write a short note on LADP. Write a short note on DNS. Explain web services in detail. Question number 4. What is wine? Explain. And the last question would be explain in short firewall in Linux. So as per my knowledge and review, these are the important questions as per the prescribed syllabus of Saurashtra University. These are just a important question. That doesn't mean in examination all the question will be covered. So I request all the students just go through all the questions and prepare yourself by writing an appropriate answers into the notebook, and even read the textbook carefully which has been provided by the college library. Over here now we are declaring our syllabus to be completed for CS22 operating system concept using Linux and Unix in BCA semester number 4. Thank you very much students for listening me, and have a nice day, and wish you all the best for your university examination.